Today I have an announcement to make. It is time to call back the 11 o'clock Waffle. I've said this before and you turned. But now the time is right to strengthen our listenership with a strong and stable show. In case you can't quite remember what was occurring, with just 5 shows left, there are still places up for grabs in our series finale. Almost certain to be there is Steve Gibbard, who is currently on an impressive 3-show unbeaten run. But can any of today's panel emerge as a potential contender to his current paper crown? Our first guest is taking time out from their busy schedule, working on, amongst other things, a new comic book creation, raving about the latest Doctor Who episode, and filing a protest over his latest Karen Gillan-related restraining order. Welcome, Alex Kay.
Great to be here, Mac. Thank you for inviting me on.
It's only been 6 months and half an hour of trying to figure out how to record again.
Well, it's felt longer without you in my life, Max, so thank you once again.
Oh, you're very kind, Alex.
Let the brown-nosing begin!
Okay, and next up, fresh off the stage from performing in Bernarda Alba, she won last time out, so we'll be hoping for another win today to put one leg into the final. Please welcome Cathy Smedley.
Hi, nice to be back, guys.
Welcome back.
Woo! Thanks for having me back.
It's okay, so you've got a good chance of potentially getting into the final this year.
Fingers crossed. Can't remember where I ended up last time. Somewhere Doctor Who-ish.
Okay, and lastly, as the Waffle returns from a 6-month absence, who was the first person to volunteer their services? A man so passionate about politics, he was live streaming at 7 AM after the election, and unlike everybody else on the television, he actually mentioned Northern Ireland prior to the DUP takeover. It is, of course, Christopher J Stanley.
Guess who's back? Back again. Waffle, tell a friend. See, it's not just your music, man. Using the power of the ukulele, I put myself 100 points ahead, but only in my mind. I'm not actually ahead. Dang it.
Welcome back, Chris.
Welcome back.
Where have you put your wife for this show?
My wife is down the pub. Gender swapping. I'm at home, washing the dishes. Wife's down the pub, mixing it up. You don't even know, man. You're not even here.
Hashtag turn times over?
You're just trying to get a medal for every time you take out the recycling. I've seen it myself.
I cooked dinner tonight, Lucky, you know.
What did you cook? Was it the Kerry stuff?
No, it was burgers with sweet potatoes and rocket.
Oh, bit of sweet potato. It's not a bad start.
Be honest, Mac, did you use a can opener for any of that?
No, I did not.
Well,
okay, just checking.
I had to cut and season the potatoes myself.
Yeah, but Mac, that canned rocket is beautiful. Don't diss it, come on.
Good lord, what is happening in that kitchen? Aurora Borealis. Aurora Borealis!
Right, shall we crack on with the first question in 6 months?
Absolutely.
That or more sweet
Okay,
potato.
and question 1. Where else to start with the most confusing political result in history? Theresa May called an election and lost. Yet won, but lost. So, once she's finished running through the fields of wheat and she settles down to listen to our show, let's remind her of other spectacular backfires. Alex?
One huge backfire that is in the Doctor Who world, actually, have to be the Doctor Who spin-off released in 2016 called Class. That was hyped up and bigged up as something spectacular, something huge, and they got Patrick Ness to write it. No, I'm kidding. It was a complete disaster. It was a bit like this election result. It didn't quite know what it wanted to be. On the one hand, it was set in a school, so you think, oh, that's fine, lovely, Sarah Jane Adventures-esque. Yeah, I get behind that. Fantastic. And yet, it was one of the most goriest productions I have ever had the displeasure to ever experience in my entire life. The thing was positively schizophrenic. So, no, I regard Class as a massive backfiring. I mean, the pilot episode was a glorious waste of Peter Capaldi, if ever there was one. So it definitely was not worth the hype, and it certainly was not worth the license fee money. So I'm putting Doctor Who's Class as a massive backfiring indeed.
Should it go to the back of the class?
It should be expelled, Christopher.
Whoa.
Strong words.
Strong
Okay,
leadership.
that's a good start there. Shall we go to Cathy next?
I don't know if it counts, so I've got two. My first one is, of course, we all remember Boaty McBoatface
Yes.
from what was it, last year or the year before?
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that you shouldn't let anybody except, professionals name anything ever. It doesn't even sit right with me that they named the smaller ship Boaty afterwards. Yeah, the only other one I could think of was the Gmail prank where they put mic drop on their emails and then forgot to tell anybody it was there. Well, they sort of told people, but they kind of didn't make it very clear. So that kind of backfired on them.
Okay, good stuff there. Right, Chris Stanley. Theresa May. Backfires.
I've also got two, because one actually came up quite recently. My initial one, as anyone who's been watching the cricket, there's a lot of Champions Trophy stuff, which a lot of different sort of countries from around the world have sort of been playing cricket in England. There's been quite a lot of situations where players are getting run out, which is quite unusual anyway, because normally, cricket is quite a slow sport. The idea of anyone getting run out, sort of a slow sport and running, they don't really seem to sort of coexist peacefully. 3 South African players were run out, and one of them, my family plays cricket. We wouldn't have been run out like that. It was completely... the BBC team sort of described it as chaotic, abysmal, schoolboy. 3 of them did. One of them was only scored 1 run and was in for 5 minutes, and another one was run out with only 1 run with 10 minutes. So that wasn't ideal. But another sort of backfire, because it's a literal fire, and this is my answer, is Richard Hammond, who only just managed to get out of the car he was driving and crashed before it burst into flames. And not so much backfire, I guess, as knee fire, because he fractured his knee. And this
Is that all?
This is a man. He was driving an electric supercar, which does sound kind of cool, called a Rimac Concept 1, was built in Croatia, doing it in Switzerland. Just crashed at high speeds, trying to do the Hamburg hill climb in Switzerland. Sort of fractured his knee, managed to just about get out of the car, and if you look at pictures of it anywhere on the news, there is not much left of that car. It is slightly charred, so to speak. A bit like, if anyone remembers Robot Wars, how Wheelosaurus, the petrol-driven robot, sort of looked after a particular fight. So, his poor wife, this is a guy who's already been in a coma before because of a car crash. Maybe it's time to stop doing this.
Well, they get such an invest in a good pair of brakes and airbag for a start.
Yes, but also, you've now been involved in 2 quite big crashes, one of which has now been a fire. Maybe now, retire or do something that doesn't involve cars or explosions.
Have you seen the clip of the Transformers painting in the art gallery?
Yes, isn't that brilliant? I think
It's
that's
quality.
absolutely outstanding. I'm also quite intrigued with the fact that Anthony Hopkins appears to be in this latest Transformers movie.
He doesn't know what's going on though, does he?
No,
He's
probably-
already come out and said he has no clue what actually is happening.
that might make it even better to watch, to be honest.
Let's get on to question 2. Adam West has died aged 88. His 2 most popular roles being Batman and playing Adam West on Family Guy. So, who else is in that exclusive club of no matter what they've done or ever will do, they'll just be known for one singular thing? Chris?
Aidan Gillen. Do you know that name?
Yeah, he's in loads of stuff.
He is, and yet, Littlefinger. He can't really get away from being Pater Baelish, Lord Baelish, Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. And to be fair, it's not completely his fault, because that has been going on for over 6 years now, and it's continuing to go on. It still isn't done. He's in the latest season 7. But the way I would sort of show to you that this is something is I went to watch King Arthur, the latest Guy Ritchie film, in the cinema last month, and he's in that, and he is still entirely like Littlefinger, even though it's a completely different role. He's doing very different things like being an archer, but it's still the same sort of creepy accent, Mac. that you sort of just associate with Littlefinger. And you can almost imagine Sansa Stark to sort of wander around the corner the second he starts talking in this film, even though it's about King Arthur. And I think it's just very difficult for him to get away from that role. Like you say, he has done other stuff, but I think people will just always associate him with being Littlefinger, particularly because not only is Game of Thrones a huge TV success, but the books as well. The Game of Thrones series, they're huge as well. It's HBO, it's worldwide, so very difficult to get away from that.
I'd like to go to Alex next regarding that. Alex, wasn't he not in a favourite show of yours?
I don't believe so. Why?
Was he not in Queer as Folk?
That's not one of my favourite shows. What are you talking about?
It's a Russell T Davies. It's written by Russell T Davies.
But yeah, but it's not one of my favourites, Mac. You know, I admire Russell's work on it, but I don't watch it very much. No, because it's not really my kind of thing. I'd rather watch Supergirl save the day.
I think my point's been proven, ladies and gentlemen.
So, but oh, Charlie Hunnam. Yeah, Charlie Hunnam. That's who you're referring to in King Arthur. He was in Queer as Folk. Charlie Hunnam.
Oh, yes.
That's Charlie Hunnam you're referring to. He plays the little lad in Queer as Folk. Yeah, he played the little lad in Queer as Folk. That was his big break.
Yeah.
Russell T Davies takes credit for that every opportunity. Russell T Davies always says, "I gave that boy his first start." He's really proud of that.
So what are you going to go for then, Alex?
I'm going to go for David Graham, who you probably don't know him by name, but if you're keen viewers of television, or rather VHSs in the 1990s, this isn't dodgy, don't worry, you will know him as Brains and Parker from Thunderbirds. He is a voice actor, and he will always be known for doing those two characters, Brains and Parker. And he's done other voice roles as well for all the Jerry Anderson shows like Stingray and Fireball XL5. And he's even the voice of Peppa Pig's granddad these days. So he still lives on and has still kept working. But Brains and Parker are two of his most iconic roles of all time. And it's testimony to their popularity that they came back in a recent Halifax ad campaign. And he was still doing the voices for them, and he's, 92, 93 by this point? And the man is happy to come back to those two roles whenever he's asked. And having met him at a convention, he is honestly one of the sweetest men you're ever likely to meet. He's so humble, so charming, so warm, so welcoming. And I can safely say, as someone who wears glasses and has a stutter, Brains made it okay. So David Graham is my pick for that particular question. Oh, and also he was one of the first voices of the Daleks in the 1960s, along with Peter Hawkins, who was Noggin the Noog.
Yeah.
Can I do my favourite impersonation, therefore, of David Graham, and it has to be Parker.
Yeah, go ahead.
Heck once, my lady!
I'm sure he'd be very proud if he could hear that, Chris. He actually lives near me. He lives in Hampstead, actually, not too far from where I am now. So I could effectively stalk him, and please don't put it past me.
He's close to my shop then, so he might have wandered in. Who knows?
Right, let's go to Cathy.
Lots of options. So I sort of played around with the idea that Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage in every movie he's ever in. Matt Damon is also Matt Damon in every film he's ever in. Jason Statham. But I'm going to go, actually, controversially, I'm going to go Patrick Stewart, because whenever you think about him, I just think about him as Picard and Xavier, and they're the only two roles I can ever picture him as, which is really bad, probably.
He was also hosting the podium at the Formula One at the weekend.
Was he?
He did the post-race interviews.
He did a shoey. Did you see that, Mac?
No.
He drank champagne from a shoe. Apparently it's called doing a shoey. But he's also a massive Huddersfield Town fan. As demonstrated by the fact that he was at Wembley to see them promoted to the Premier League. So he's a very curious man, Patrick Stewart.
I was surprised he didn't claim that he moved the ball on a penalty spot like Yuri Geller did at 96.
I didn't see. Oh, no, I would have thought warp speed would have been more. Warp speed was not a play during that final goal. It was slow.
He's a beautiful man.
On to question 3 now, and England's under-20s won the under-20 World Cup. So let's celebrate with other stories of successful under-20s. How many times can we say under-20s in one sentence? Chris?
Well, when you talk about under-20s, who of course are under-20, it's always appropriate in under 20 minutes to try and talk about under-20s. And Kelechi Iheanacho, who was until recently under-20, when he was under-20, played for Manchester City and came on still under-20, scored a goal for Manchester City in the dying moments despite only being on 2 minutes. So that's under 20 minutes to score for Manchester City against Crystal Palace, and then while still under 20 scored a hat-trick against Aston Villa in the FA Cup in under 20 minutes, which is quite impressive. So in under 20 minutes, I'd like to say that for the under 20s, Kelechi Iheanacho, even though he's no longer under 20, still did a lot of stuff under 20.
Bravo.
Well done, Chris.
Okay, Alex, I'm not sure you can quite top that.
I'm over 20 now.
I'm not even going to try, but I will put forth my answer, which is that I think the most successful group of under-20s has to be the Harry Potter cast. Not for their financial gain. I hasten to add, because, I mean, as I say, they have made a lot of money between them, and good on them, but it's the way they act. All of those kids, or at least most of them, who aren't kids anymore, but they behave with nothing but dignity and respect in the eyes of the public, and that warms my. You hear horrible stories of child actors going off the rails, doing drugs, doing drink, and mucking it all up, but pretty much all of them, in some way, shape, or form, have not only gone on to other things, but have behaved so well and been so respectful of the fans and of the franchise and of the characters they played, that it's really heartening to see. So, and that's the kind of success that should be celebrated, I think, more than financial success. It's how you behave and how you treat other people. And I have to say, as a Doctor Who fan, although I think his time for doing it is over now, I would have loved to have seen Daniel Radcliffe as the Doctor at some point. I think he would have been fabulous, because he looks a bit like Matt Smith's younger brother, like the long-lost younger sibling of Matt Smith, so that could have been quite funny to watch. But no, they're successful because they've behaved extremely well, and I think are very good role models for young aspiring actors to look at.
What I like about Daniel Radcliffe as well is, like, obviously they got so much money from doing Harry Potter, they could just sign up to any blockbuster going just to take more cash. He does some really interesting films that are like really low budget. His one last year, he played a corpse that has an erection that works as a compass.
That's an excellent film. The only thing I would sort of say is, what has happened to Rupert Grint?
He bought an ice cream van and he's set.
Because I think that's the only sort of sad thing for me, is that sort of Emma Watson clearly has been a huge success, you're right? So has Daniel Radcliffe, and they've all acted really well as role models. Rupert Grint, he's just kind of faded, and also I will always struggle with the fact that in the books, Ron is sort of very smart and has a lot of common sense. In the films, he just kind of turns into a bit of a joke. And it's just a bit sad for me, because I really liked Ron in the books, and can you take him seriously at all in the films? He just kind of stands there going, "Bloody hell, Harry!" And
well, look, somebody has to be that character, though. You know, in screenwriting, somebody has to be the Timon and Pumbaa of the group. You know, to handle the comic relief and to handle the slapstick. So it may as well have been Ronald Weasley. You've got
the Weasley twins for that, is all I would say, Alex. So,
well, no, but hang on, but they're not exactly an integral part of the main arc, though, are they? I mean, yeah, they're there, and they do have a presence, but, you know, when you're, until the last batch of books, until the last book even, they're not exactly heavily involved in the action sequences, so when you've got Harry, Ron, Hermione, and the rest of the other peripheral friends that tend to join in. You need that character there to break that tension, to, you know, almost like, you know, some of the, like Nardole in the most recent series of Doctor Who. You need somebody there to supply the punchline so the audience can laugh and release the tension. I think Ronald's perfect for that. I think Ron was a very good choice to fulfill that part, and Rupert Grint pulled it off astoundingly. He played it very well.
It's just odd how, but he does seem to. I'm noting that he seems to be making a little bit of a comeback in TV stuff. So maybe we've not heard the last of him, but we'll see.
But can I just say, guys, it's debates like that terrify Theresa May.
she's just not going to go anywhere near this stuff.
and Theresa's standing for the thing. Cathy, what have you got to say? Judge Ron on his record?
I can't judge Ron on his record. I completely agree with Alex. There needs to be a fall guy. He wasn't a fall. He provided a good balance to the seriousness that Hermione brought.
So he's a Jedi then. He's a Jedi.
Are you saying that Hermione's a Sith Lord?
I'm saying someone's a Sith Lord.
Well, no, hang on a second. Wouldn't that make Ron Jar Jar Binks then of the group? Wouldn't it make him the Jar Jar Binks of the group?
I'm saying
I
Harry's...
feel like I've just majorly insulted everybody now.
I'm saying Harry's a Sith Lord because he's got a bit of a Horcrux in him.
But he turned away from the dark side in the end, though. Did Lad Potter? Lad Potter did well in the end. You know, he helped save everybody. So
but only after Luna and Tonks were dead, man.
Look, war is hell, Chris. Come on, war is hell, man. Come on.
Okay, order. Cathy's not giving an answer yet.
You cannot have a clean Brexit all the time. I'm sorry.
But let's hear Cathy's under 20.
I'll change the tone a bit now. From magical heroes to a real one, Malala. Is that how you say it, Malala? The youngest ever Nobel Prize winner. I think she's still under 20.
Oh, is this the Pakistani girl?
Yeah, the advocate for women's education. You can't get more successful, I think, than changing the world.
Yeah.
She's trying her best.
Was she not the one who got shot in the head?
Oh, Chris, no.
But she did
She got shot in the head and the neck and survived and then carried on.
Which is amazing in itself. Like, she's still alive, she survives that, and she's gone on, like you say, to do... She's also got the Sakharov Prize, apparently.
Oh, I've not heard of that one.
That's just a cool prize to get, isn't it? Sakharov. I got the
Sakharov.
Sakharov.
Sounds a bit dirty, the Sakharon. Yeah.
Sakharov.
I don't know, it sounds like a Doctor Who villain.
It does, actually. We must defend ourselves against the Sakharov.
The Sakharon is coming, Doctor, and you can't stop us.
Okay, I think on that bombshell we should go to the scores. It's been a good start to the show, and on 10 it's Cathy. Narrowly ahead of her on 11 it's Chris. And just pipping the first round on 12 it's Alex. Question 4 now, and 3 giant murals of Billy Connolly have been created in Glasgow in honour of his 75th birthday. So, whose mural are you putting up in your hometown? And this is just a one-liner, so where you are and who you're putting up. Alex.
Jerry Anderson, Muswell Hill.
Okay, Cathy.
If it's Bridgewater, it's the Wurzels because Somerset. If it's Stoke, then it's got to be Reginald Mitchell, I guess.
And Chris.
Stroud, Laurie Lee.
Good stuff there. Okay, question 5 now. And Ed Sheeran can fit 55 Maltesers in his mouth. So, avoiding the obvious question, let's have other objects inside things records. And we'll start with Cathy. She can get before the boys.
Hey. Well, to answer the question, I'll give you the fun fact that recently there was a record broken for the most nationalities in one sauna, and that raised at about 91 cosy people in a tiny sauna. My other fact is, and it's not a record, it's just an interesting thing to note, but this weekend it was noted that there was a swarm of 30,000 bees at a car boot sale in Cheltenham.
Not the bees!
Not the bees!
Ah! They're in my boot sale!
But funny enough, Nick Cage was spotted in Cheltenham this weekend.
My old CDs are ruined. But I got some great honey.
Yes, good one there. Chris.
Oh dear, the internet is awash with this stuff, can I say. Dinesh Upadhyaya can fit 88 grapes in his mouth, in case anyone's
What?
wondering.
Hang on, green or red?
Well, Seedless, I'm going to go with green, because the picture is showing green, but he could probably switch it up and do red as well. Yeah, so he's done this before. He had 79 grapes in 2012, and now it's 88 in 2015. But another record, which I think you'll be interested in, Mac, with your Scottish roots, is today I found a church in Knightsbridge called St Columba, which is a Scottish church, Presbyterian, and it's pretty much a cathedral, and it can hold 3,000 people in its church. It's that big. It has an exam hall beneath it, and it has all the shields of all the Scottish clans, I believe, and regions.
It must be bigger on the inside then.
It does feel that way. You have to go up a level just to get into the church. It's got... Oh, you don't even know. It's crazy. It's the sort of thing where you sort of think, like in London, it's just one of those things like Knightsbridge, like Harrods obviously dominates the landscape, so does other places like Natural History Museums. Like, how had no one noticed this, like, huge Scottish church? This is amazing. So, yeah, I thought that was quite cool.
That's nifty.
Quite good there. And Alex.
Look,
Now, how much of your Google history did you have to delete after?
Actually, funny you say that. Okay, I'm gonna disclaimer this now. This probably is fake news, and I'm gonna disclaimer this that this probably didn't happen. But the fact that I read it nearly 10 years ago on Wikipedia and it's stuck in my mind means that it's worth recounting to other people, even if it is a little bit gruesome. So if you're eating something, pause this, finish your meal, then come back.
Hang on, I've got this cookie. No, I haven't.
In the 1980s, Doctor Who hired a fan advisor, talk about more backfiring, to help advise continuity on the programme, and to help the production team realise what fans would want to see on the screen. His name was... Actually, I won't name him because I don't want to get this podcast in trouble and we'll get shut down. Anyway, look, this particular individual is a bit notorious in the Doctor Who community. He's not exactly liked because, to be fair, he's not the friendliest of individuals. He can come across as a bit snappy and a bit angry, particularly on the Twitters. But I read on this person's official Wikipedia page. Now... The Doctor Who story from 1970, Inferno, is in 7 parts. And I once read that this particular individual shoved 7 film cans of Inferno up his ass for reasons best known to himself. So you can imagine this bloke taking a can of film and ramming it up his rectum, one after the other. He apparently did that. Years later, I told another Doctor Who friend of mine this, a guy well known for his facts and figures, and he went, "What?" And I said, "No, it's true, it's on Wikipedia, it has to be true, go and look. And the reference that I read on Wikipedia had gone, so it probably was fake, but I just love the idea of this guy shoving a Doctor Who classic up his ass in 7 separate film cans. Well, I thought it was good.
I think we're just in stunned silence.
Chris can't even finish that cookie now.
It's probably best that I don't, especially as it might have been encrypted.
How many dice can Donald Trump hold in a hand?
He's got kind of tiny hands.
I know.
When he's not busy drinking Waffe.
Waffe.
I wondered when we were going to mention that, by the way. That took too long to mention.
I'll be honest, we could probably do a 24-hour special just on Donald Trump questions.
Please, no, let's not do that. No.
Despite all the negative press, Waffe.
What's great though, right, is we still have the moral high ground, or do we? Because in America, they voted in Donald Trump. In Britain, nobody's ever voted for Theresa May outright to win. She only won the Tory election because everybody dropped out and took everybody else out at the same time.
It's all about Lord Buckethead anyway, Mac, as we know.
Oh.
What a legend.
Have you seen his music video? It's literally a love letter to Maidenhead. It's beautiful.
And he's on the John Oliver show in America. He's become that much of an internet sensation. He's now on the
I need to see this.
Yes, you do.
But
have you guys seen...
My favourite line in his manifesto was, "We need to nationalise Adele."
Yes, yes, but also he got more votes than UKIP.
That's a
That's a victory for democracy.
The other thing I liked as well is how long do you think Theresa May and her advisors spent picking the outfit for the election? And she turns up, and Elmo's there in the exact same shade of orange.
Why, as a Conservative, why would you turn up in red?
Guys,
so
she's
many
being
colours.
ironic. She's being ironic. Come on now.
I don't know.
She's taken the memes into consideration. She's forward-thinking like that. I mean, not socially. In terms of the internet, she's forward-thinking. Come on, this is the post-truth age. You know,
I don't know if she's even got. I don't know if she even understands Alanis Morissette's level of ironic, Alex. Let's not get it too far ahead of ourselves. Does she know about Rain on the Wedding Day and whether or not that's ironic or just coincidental?
What we'll do is we'll call an election. We'll spend 8 weeks. We'll spend 8 weeks saying, look at Jeremy Corbyn, who once hung out in Northern Ireland with some IRA people. And then, when we don't win the election, we'll join up with the DUP.
Yes.
I just think we've all been duped.
Yeah.
Okay,
the great con.
Question 6. And Katy Perry is live streaming herself for 72 hours to promote her new album. But if you were to live stream for just 24 hours, what would the world see you do? Cathy?
You could come last week and watch a play, and the rehearsals preceding it.
House of Bernardo Alba, I've seen that play. It gets a bit dark.
It does, especially in turn lights out.
It gets Edgar Duncan dark, can I say.
It was a very good play, very well done. But no, for 24 hours you'd either see me working, watching comedy, board games, or rehearsing, and therefore, and after performing, depending which 24 hours you chose.
Okay.
Those are your choices.
Chris, what would we see if we live streamed you?
You would see me impersonating various people from Game of Thrones. For example, at the moment, I'm impersonating the Blackfish, who was in Season 6 and Season 3. You'd also see me impersonate maybe Ned Stark, but also sort of going back to the sort of creepy Littlefinger, and I might throw in a little bit of Lord Varys, just to be a bit more simpering. Also, I might be Tyrion and cut off his manhood and feed it to the goats. Oh no, there are no goats, half-man. Well, make do. I might be a little bit hooked. I could have a problem here.
I have images of you just making tea and doing that voice now and talking to the carrots.
Yes.
You know.
The one I can't master
Has
is
anyone
Davos.
heard from Rachel for a while?
You...
Have you locked her away? Has she gone? Has she just left?
She's down the pub, and actually she quite enjoys... in return for the Game of Thrones, I'm allowed to do Game of Thrones impersonation. She's allowed to sing Hamilton musical songs. Which, and has a little bit of K-pop.
Okay. Alex, 24 hours of you.
Well, I've got two responses to this one. I'd like to think you'd see me do lots of drawing and create my comic book masterpiece, you know, that type of thing, you know. In reality, what you'd probably see me doing, and what I actually hope you'd see me doing, is sitting there reading books and watching television. Because when I read books and watch television, particularly if I'm watching something new on the television or reading a new book, I have a rather eccentric way of behaving, shall we put it, in that I actually start talking to the characters on the TV and in the book. And I like to think this is a testament to the good writing in the books and on television. Because, like, for instance, having just seen the Arrow finale yesterday on Catch Up, it was such an emotionally intense finale. I found myself babbling like a loon and getting so worried for all the characters when they were put in danger. Like, you'll remember, Matt, there's one scene where Thea steps on a landmine, and I'm very attached to Thea. I think she's one of my favourite characters. And I went, no, Thea, no, you're on the mine. Oh my God, she's on the mine. Like, I got really distressed by it. And then when John Barrowman's character shoved her off, I went, John, what are you doing? John, what are you doing, John? John, stop that a second, John. You know, and but the bit that did get the biggest emotional response out of me was when we do a flashback and Moira turns up again, and I burst into tears. Like, oh my God, it's Moira! They brought her back. She's back. Moira is back. It's great. Moira is back. You know,
Alex, take a drink of water.
I've got none near me. I think it'd be fascinating. But I think it'd be fascinating for other people to watch, because it'd be like The Zoo but better. Because I'd be going mad. You know, I get really into into television shows when I watched them. And even watching Saturday's Doctor Who, there was a bit at the end where a character that we haven't seen since 1974 turned up, Alpha Centauri, with the original voice actress playing the character. And I was like, it's Alpha Centauri, baby, yeah! Like, I was like a football fan, I was going insane. I was like, yeah, it's Alpha, it's fucking Alpha, man! You know, I loved it, you know, so I think people would get some amusement out of that, sure.
I would watch the hell out of that just on repeat. It's a better version of Gogglebox.
I was going to say Gogglebox. Like, Alex, how have you not applied?
See, Alex's reaction was a bit different to mine, because mine was, what's Crichton's girlfriend, the Gelf, doing from Red Dwarf in Doctor Who?
That was
just
kind of... Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Okay, let's have the scores now. On 19 points at the back, it's Chris. On 20 points, it's Cathy. And crawling into the lead again, it's Alex on 21.
Woo!
So, question 7 now. And rock star Eleanor Tomlinson is set to release an album of folkish covers. So let's have other celebrities that have tried to have a music career. Chris?
The one that always surprises me, Steve Martin has won a Grammy for Best Bluegrass Album for The Crow in 2010. He is amazingly good on the banjo.
Yes.
And that is not what you would immediately think of when you think of Steve Martin. So there are more famous examples. So, for example, Kevin Bacon actually sort of sings a lot with his brother. Can I say he's really fallen? Poor old Kevin Bacon. He's pretty much reduced to EE adverts these days.
Yeah, his singing voice is a bit hammy.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I guess another person who started out as an actor but is really now a musician is Jamie Foxx, who has done a huge amount of stuff, but also just like does some really good musical impressions as well. When he was on Jimmy Fallon a couple of years ago, he can sing like a lot of different people. He can sing like John Legend, you know, doing sort of All of Me and things like that. And he also sang On Top of Spaghetti, and I'm trying to think who he was doing it like. It wasn't Iggy Azalea, it was someone who's a star with Iggy Azalea. Jennifer Hudson. Jennifer Hudson is a very high singing soprano, and Jamie Foxx can sing like her, even though he started out as an actor. That's a lot of talent right there.
Okay, let's go to Cathy next.
Just on the note of Steve Martin, Chris, what about Hugh Laurie? He's a fantastic pianist. Isn't he jazz country?
And I think his best ever musical contribution is when he just sings the song America on Fry and Laurie, which is just him going, America, America, and that's all he does. And I think at one point he switches and goes, the States, the States. But I would buy that. I would buy that single.
But what I did find out today is that Mark Wahlberg, he of the Transformers movie, is Marky Mark from Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Yes, that was my nickname from my English teacher at school.
And I lost it earlier on. I lost it. He's just find some YouTube videos and look at him.
Bonus points if you know who his brother was and what he was in.
I don't know. It's distressing me now.
Is this Donnie Wahlberg?
Yes.
Donnie Wahlberg. Was he in... I want to say...
Chris stalling whilst he types into Google silently.
No, because, like...
New Kids on the Block.
No, wow. I was thinking he's been in The Sixth Sense. He's been in... New Kids on the Block. But... Because Donnie Wahlberg is also an actor, so like there's a bit of clearly. I think you get quite a lot that actors want to be musicians, and musicians can be actors and things like that. I mean, Ice Cube, brilliant example of someone who was a musician, is the other way around, and is now a very good actor in his own right.
Very much so, Alex.
Two individuals from the same television show who tried music, and I think in their own ways became a cult success, were Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hate to... like, listening to Shatner's stuff is both brilliant and awful at the same time.
You can't fault the man for trying, though, can you? No. I mean, he really did try to strike out, you know, into being a musician. And I think Leonard Nimoy said, well, I don't think it sold as well as... I think both of us sold pretty bad.
Oh, another one to throw you, Christopher Lee. In
Yes.
his time, proper metal man. Yeah.
And did you know that Peter Davison, the actor who played the Fifth Doctor in Doctor Who, composed the theme tune to Button Moon?
Oh.
I don't know whether he sung it or not, but I know he definitely composed it.
Let's move on to question 8. And given that the Waffle seems to air once every 6 months, what will Theresa May have been up to come Christmas? Let's keep this to a quick one-liner. So, Alex.
Running through more wheat.
Chris.
Keeping it real and stable.
Okay, and Cathy.
Trying not to be a nuisance, I would hope.
I guess that brings us to the final round, where our guests will present a news headline followed by a short summary of the story. The story will either be true and something from the past week's news, or entirely fictional. Given how recent events have seen us have Donald Trump as President of America, an election called that the person calling the election didn't even bother to attend, who knows what these stories will be like. So Alex just has the lead, so you get to pick the running order.
I'm a bit of an old school gentleman, so ladies first.
Okay, and where would you like to finish?
I like to finish last because I need time.
Okay.
Open stalling. I like to keep it that way.
Cathy, what is your headline?
Kim Jong-un has banned sarcasm in his country. There have even been mass meetings to the nation to ensure that they are told and they don't think it's a lie, because he fears being talked to ironically, air quotes included.
Okay, Chris?
Poldark actor wades into mining row. And this is the story that Aidan Turner is actually sort of speaking out about the facts that sort of it looks like one of the Red Ruth mines that has sort of been sort of EU funding is now under threat because of Brexit, and he's come on record as saying that he's willing to help fund it and sort of fight the campaign if needs be.
Okay, and Alex?
Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in the US. And when you consider that this man is a self-described democratic socialist in a country that is pretty much the heart of capitalism, you have to wonder how the heck does that add up? particularly when most of them voted for a businessman. And yet, as of right now, Bernie Sanders is meant to be the most popular politician out there. His popularity rating is apparently through the roof. So, work that one out, chaps. You know, I'd be very grateful if you could.
Pens and papers at the ready, answer on a postcard.
Okay, so we've got Kim Jong-un bans sarcasm, Poldark actor wades into mining row, and Bernie Sanders most popular politician in America. Alex, what do you think is true or false?
I think the sarcasm story is definitely true, because with that maniac, I can believe most things. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to say that one's true. The Poldark story, I think that's false, personally.
Okay, Alex's views on Kim Jong-un are Alex's views alone and not those of the Waffle, if anybody's listening in North Korea.
Oh, come on, he's a horrible man. Don't apologise. Come on.
Chris?
True and true.
Okay, and Cathy?
I wouldn't be surprised if Alex's is true, considering the what's it storm they've been left in the wake of Trump. And I'd love Chris's to be true. Because I imagine that Aidan Turner's just that kind of guy, really.
You're picturing him shirtless, aren't you?
No. Both true.
Okay, both true, right. So, Kim Jong-un bans sarcasm, is that true or false?
It's completely true. Because he is paranoid, pretty much.
Okay, and we'll go to Bernie Sanders next. Is that true or false, Alex?
That is absolutely true. Yep, his popularity ratings are incredibly high and much higher than Trump's or Mike Pence's and definitely Hillary Clinton's. You know, I mean the man is just taken his own country by storm. And I think it was an outrage that he wasn't. If the DNC hadn't sabotaged him, he would have gotten the nominee. And who knows? He could have had a better chance against the Donald, and we wouldn't, or rather, the US wouldn't be where it is now. But parallel universes and all that business. Let's not go into it. We'll be here forever.
Okay, we've got a split now of true or falses here. So hold our actual weight into mining round. Chris.
It's false.
Oh!
It is completely false. I mean, he might be a nice guy, and he probably is, but no, it's false. It's completely false. It is actually kind of, what I've done is completely different to another story, but the Downton creator Julian Fellows has actually waded into an inheritance row, was what I kind of sort of based it off a little bit, but it's completely different. He's waded into an inheritance row which apparently left 8 daughters snubbed in favour of distant relatives. Sometimes the stuff in Downton Abbey isn't actually that far from the truth. There is apparently some sort of wealthy person who has decided rather than give sort of any of the inheritance to the daughters, she's going to give it to 2 very distant relatives. What a nice thing to do. She must be a charming lady.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of the final round there, and the scores. Our first show in 6 months, and it's very tight. On 30 points, it's Chris. Tied on 30 points, it's Cathy. And just ahead on 31, Alex is this week's winner.
Oh, that's
Well
nice.
done, Alex.
Well, thank you. No alternative facts here. Yeah, fair, thank you.
But do I suspect the DUP behind this? Because this is very close. Will we be having another waffle in 6 months' time?
Maybe Russia hacked the programs.
Whoa. Yes, we hack program. It's nice program, but we hack it anyway. We apologize. Too much vodka had.
The idea that
Sounds like a
Putin listens to the waffle.
I don't know,
Unlike
man. He
this
salutes
Chris guy,
pigeons.
he just lists things, but Alex, he makes good reference to 80s Doctor Who.
I like that.
A time where we owned East Berlin.
The wall, it's come down when Doctor Who off the air, it's a disgrace.
But we built new wall in Mexico.
That's where the money's coming from. Oh, we got them rumbled.
That brings us to the end of this week's show. Thank you to my guests, Cathy Smedley, Christopher Stanley, and of course this week's winner, Alex Kay.
Woo!
Thanks for having us,
Just-
Mac. Thank you for having us. It was a
Thank you, Mac.
great
Just
show.
that
Great
put.
fun.
We should hopefully be back next week.
Great
Thank
fun.
you for listening and have a lovely week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.